Hello, readers by eyes and by ears. This is Mighty Chen, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are not reading, but we are having a discussion. Well, it's kind of one-sided since this isn't live, but I wanted to discuss some of my favorite aspects about this beautiful danmei series, Thousand Autumns, also known as Qianqiu by Meng Xi Shi. And of course, I would love to see your comments about what you think on my thoughts, but also I really want to know what some of your favorite things about Qianqiu are. So, I hope you all like this. I'm not really sure. No one really asked for this, but I'm going to do it. And if you guys like this, then I'll be sure to do it for future danmei that I read as well. So, without further ado, I want to mention the very first thing that I love about Meng Xi Shi's Thousand Autumns. Now, I'm going to say, I know you might think this is a typical thing. I promise it's not me being like super heavy feminist or anything like that. Feminism is fine. But anyway, I absolutely love the fact that there are so many, namely 3, but so many powerful women figures within this danmei series, because most of the danmei that I've read thus far have been so heavy on male powerful figures, at least the things that are in, the Wuxia world, which, don't get me wrong, obviously it's danmei, which is male-centered, but I like that there's diversity here within Meng Xi Shi's Thousand Autumns, and I want to talk about those 3 female figures, which I'm sure many of you have probably already guessed. It's going to be Bai Rong, Yuan Xiuxiu, and Zhang Chiying. The thing that I absolutely love about these 3 characters is that they're all also very different from one another. They're not the same, like, oh, it's just 3 powerful women who fight really well, and that's pretty much it. They all have their own dimensions that she's given them, and I appreciate that so much. So, of course, starting with Zhang Chiying, we have her from a righteous, I don't want to say righteous, but opposite of demonic, from a more respectable sect, just a regular woman, female sect leader who is clearly very talented. We don't get to see a lot from her really, but it's mentioned even that her talent is, something that you only find once every 100 years. And though we don't really get to see this, it's nice that it's mentioned, and just to see, boom, a female sect leader. I know Yuan Xiuxiu is one too, but anyway, she's a female sect leader who is very wise and very kind and courteous as well. And I hate what happened to her Bixia sect, but I have no doubt with her character and with some of the guidance that I'm sure Shen gave / will give will help to build her Bixia sect back up to something extraordinary. So I really liked her character. Then moving on to Bai Rong versus Yuan Xiuxiu, I love their characters even more because they both are demonic practitioners, and they both come from the same sect, yet they are 2 entirely different people. So starting with Yuan Xiuxiu, again, another powerful female martial artist who ranks number 9 on the top 10, which is super cool. She's a badass who is not to be trifled with, and she's also very cunning, very smart. She lets people believe that she just uses her body and she's, been doing only pair cultivation, and that's why her martial arts is so good. But the woman is a for real BAMF. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she lets people underestimate her so that she can overcome them in the end. And it kind of sucks what happened to her, Zhang Chiying ending her. Nevertheless, I think she's still really cool. And at the end of the day, she recognizes Shen, which I also appreciate. When the whole sword trial conference thing came about, she, of course, deceived him by coming down the mountain, but it was really all for his sake. Like, you're not involved in this in any kind of way. We can strike a deal if you want. I'm willing to not do anything to you. I can even hook you up with my with Bai Rong if that's what you want, So she is able to see Shen is different from the rest, and even was willing to get him out of harm's way, even though he still decided to go there anyway because, it's Shen. So really, really like Yuan Xiuxiu's character. Now, moving to Bai Rong, which I have to say, of course, is my favorite female character within this series because, again, she comes from the same sect as Yuan Xiuxiu, but in my eyes, she is entirely different. Of course, they're practicing the same things, right? But here is the little Bai Rong who basically is knowing she just needs to bide her time, that there are things about her sect. I believe personally that she already did not necessarily care for. And Shen Qiao, certain things that he would say to her, only pushed her even more to want to succeed. And eventually, when she saw the opportunity to take over the sect, could she have possibly, after she becomes sect leader, only did those changes and sent that letter saying, I'm still going to be making changes just for him? Sure, but I feel like deep within her heart, there were things that Bai Rong wanted to change. And I believe that Shen Qiao also saw that within her, which is why he said certain things to her. And even though there was no way that any other sect that was not a demonic sect would accept her, she's putting in the work to basically, I guess, make them more respectable, And again, she's a very powerful martial artist, and every time she comes on the scene, I love it. Whether it's Shen Qiao who acknowledges it verbally or in his head, or Meng Xi Shi just wrote it in there. She was like, every time Bai Rong comes back, she gets more and more powerful. And I love that for Bai Rong. So again, I love that the three women are all different, and it's not just, yay, three powerful women just to throw in there so we can say they're women. But they actually have some intrigue to them, at least for sure Bai Rong and Yuan Xiuxiu. So the next topic of discussion is going to be my lovely Qiao, Shen Qiao's martial growth, and even his mental growth. There isn't really a whole lot I can say about this because, the entire series was about Shen Qiao's growth as a martial artist and as a person as he began to learn what his own Dao was. I hate the circumstances that happened to him. But of course, out of tragedies can come masterpieces. And that's essentially what happened to him. He had this vision, this way of thinking, wanting to keep his Shizun's legacy. But after he finally explored the world, he was like, whoa, actually, I can't continue on my Shizun's legacy like this because there's a lot of hurt and pain in this world, and there's a lot going on that needs to be addressed. And it's not even talked about a lot as far as him wanting to return to Shendu Mountain until this book, actually, the 5th volume. But it was made clear that he did want to return, and he was just biding his time until his strength got back up to where it needed to be. But the thing that I admire about him is just his attitude the entire time. I don't believe that he was stuffing down his feelings by being kind and respectful and showing no malice and things like that. I do think there were plenty of times where he actually showed that he was upset, and if he didn't, then maybe he just felt like he didn't need to show it at that time. But there were plenty of times where he actually expressed how he felt. And then there, was that one time, I think, when some things just maybe took a little second to hit him. Like when Yan Wushi gave him over to Zhang Chiying. But also, there was the influence of the demonic core being put inside of him. So who knows? But speaking of that scene, I absolutely love that because at that point, he was willing to destroy everything. And of course, it would end in taking his own life as well as Zhang Chiying's, but that ended up not happening. And I love that he essentially stripped away everything that he knew before and started to rebuild from the beginning. It's really a testament to how sometimes there are things like that in our lives that we need to approach with that mentality, especially since even from the moment that we are in the womb, we are given our values. When we come out, we're given values by our parents. If you have siblings, other family members, teachers, students around us, even strangers that we meet. But as we grow and learn and go through life ourselves, there are going to be things that eventually we have to reevaluate and say, okay, is this really how I feel? Is this really what I value? Or do I need to tear down the things that I've been taught? and create my own Dao, create my own way of life, my own path. And so I love that Shen Qiao actually did that because it was so beautiful, just how he grew martially, but mentally. I think the mentally is more amazing, but I'm only saying martially because, it's martial arts in this book. So with me mentioning that of the martial arts, the other thing I love about Meng Xi Shi's Thousand Autumns is the freaking martial arts. All of it was written so beautifully. I felt like I was a part of nature when she would describe the movements and the attacks that people were making, and everything just sounded so beautiful and poetic. And I'm a person who already believes that martial arts is absolutely stunning without all the extra, xianxia type things that people can do. But for it to be magnified through the way that she poetically wrote everything, it just really made my heart soar. I love it so much. And it's what makes me look forward to her other series, Peerless, which I will start reading a little later next year once we get to at least, I think, the second to last book is out. But I love the way she writes martial arts. Out of all of the other books I've read, from TGCF to SVSSS to Mo Dao Zu Shi and Arha, Yu, the way that she writes martial arts is so different and so beautifully profound. It makes me want to practice martial arts, but I'm too busy reading about the martial arts in danmei to practice it. So anyway, the next thing we want to talk about, of course, aside from Shen Qiao's evolution, we have to talk about Yuan Xiuxiu's evolution because I remember when I first started reading Thousand Autumns and I was just like, I hate this man. I hate him so much. I realized that he was not fake. So I respected him for that, because some people will smile in your face and then stab you in the back. But he was like upfront already. He's like, I didn't save you for any good reason. Like, I don't like you. I'm finna toy with you, bruh. And he said it on multiple occasions. And Shen Qiao was just Shen Qiaoing, being naive, which was understandable, being secluded essentially. But I hated him so much, even though I respected him. But from book 3 onward, I really just began to fall in love with him myself. Even when he was having the 3 different, 4, 5, whatever, different facets of himself coming out, I loved that because it started to show us like, hey, there is the Yuan Xiuxiu that he presents and he will always present. But there are these other sides to him, whether they are old parts of him or inner parts of him that maybe only even, Shen Qiao will get, that he can be. And then, of course, we have the evolution of just his mindset in general, seeing there are only 2 types of people in the world. You're either a bug that I'm going to step on, or you're an opponent. And he didn't really care for kind people like Shen Qiao, believing that everyone was evil or selfish. Shen Qiao proved him wrong. And I love the fact that he was able to and willing to acknowledge that Shen Qiao proved him wrong to Shen Qiao, but also that he grew to love that about Shen Qiao. And just as he began to have more feelings for Shen Qiao and grow more respect for him, you could see that even in the way that he treated people who were associated with Shen Qiao. Even if they didn't get the kindest of treatment from him, they got better treatment from him just because of their GBA, guilty by association. But in this case, the guilt was good. So I loved that. And I love that he grew to cherish Shen Qiao. And again, I think I mentioned in a previous video ending that I love that he was still himself. And I think that was great on Meng Xi Shi's part, because she didn't completely just morph his character into someone new. He evolved, but he was still Yuan Xiuxiu, funny, cocky, strong and powerful, so that was very admirable, because that is how real human change is. And honestly, people who do a complete 180 on everything about themselves, I'm not really sure I trust that. So, of course, gotta love the evolution of those characters. The other thing I love about Thousand Autumns is the complexities between Fengge's disciples, essentially, which really I guess is only between Shen Qiao, Yu Ai, and Tan Yuanqun, because we have Fengge as their Shutsuan. And even though we didn't get much of what happened before, it's clear that more than likely he showed favoritism toward Shen Qiao and kind of left the others in the dust. And we don't make excuses for people doing things they shouldn't do, but it adds dimension to characters and just pulling out the heart of why people do what they do. I think it's very important that we gain understanding on why people do what they do. That way we know how to proceed in the future. So from this entire thing that happened with Fengge and his disciples and Yuai, Tanya, Chun, and Shen Qiao can go forward because he has his own disciples. And so hopefully he will, if he did ever reflect on how Fengge treated him versus everyone else, or even if he doesn't reflect, but those words from Tanya and Chun stick in his mind subconsciously, that he will treat his disciples equally, even if he passes the mantle to one, but having that understanding that they all need to be equally nurtured so that they don't feel like they have to do something bad. But again, I love the way that she pulled out the emotions of Yu Ai and Tanya and Chun, especially Tanya and Chun. And I felt really bad for Yu Ai, actually, because not only was he manipulated by Tanya and Chun to harming his Shishong, but he had these great ambitions and he was just really naive due to their seclusion. And he bit off more than he could chew, and he made bad decisions. But I truly believe that deep down inside, he did care for Shen Qiao. Like, no one can convince me he did not. And I know some people may say, well, the way he showed his care is not good. And that's true. It is very true. But that doesn't mean that he didn't care for his Shishong. He just made bad choices and he prioritized his desires over taking care of his Shishong. So yeah, I'm glad in the end he realized that he was wrong, even though it didn't change anything. And I'm not glad he sacrificed his life, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that he did what he thought was necessary in order to hopefully kind of sort of make up for that. So the last thing I think I want to talk about, who knows, is the political intrigue, which for some people, you might not like politics. I hate politics, honestly. Do not talk to me about American politics. I will not have anything to say because I absolutely hate them. But when it comes to the politics in danmei, I love it so freaking much. It just, I think it was written so well. Meng Xi Shi, she wrote in a way that the political intrigue was very important to the story. It wasn't just, the story going on and then randomly like, oh, and by the way, this is happening in the political world. It was like, no, there are things happening. Like the emperor is causing strife ultimately between the Taoists and Confucians and the Buddhists. And that's why, they're fighting for power. That's why they're trying to all get rid of Yan Wushi and other things. And, trying to change the dynamic of the power within the sects that exist. It is all tied in very well together and not just random pieces of information. So I really appreciate that about Meng Xi Shi. And then finally, the last thing that I love about Thousand Autumns was Shen Qiao's inner thoughts. I know. There were so many times when his inner thoughts were just so sassy and so snappy. And I was like, please say it out loud. Please say it out loud. Although I knew he wouldn't say it out loud. But I adored those. And I hoped you guys could tell when I was reading them because I didn't do any special sound effects or anything to make it seem like thoughts or whatever. For those who are just listening but not reading along, but I would try to read them a little faster and like maybe a little quieter like this. Well, maybe if you didn't do it. So I hope you were able to tell. But anyway, I absolutely loved his inner little dialogues with himself. And I think Yan Wushi had a couple every now and then. And those were funny too. But, That is all I have to say about Thousand Autumns or Qianqiu by Meng Xi Shi. Again, I truly look forward to reading Peerless by Meng Xi Shi. And I'm hoping that it is just as good as Thousand Autumns. It can be a completely different setting, all of that crap. But I have great respect for her writing. Again, I would love to hear your thoughts on the things that I addressed, but I would really, really love to hear you guys' thoughts just on your favorite aspects of Qianqiu, what you thought was amazing. Shoot, who's your favorite character even? Which I don't think I said, but I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, whose favorite character is not Shen Qiao? But aside from Shen Qiao, Yan Wushi is also my favorite character, which, I mean, they're both the main characters, so that's not really a surprise. If I have to pick a side favorite character outside of the obvious two choices, then I will say it's Bai Rong. That is my favorite other character. So yes, let me know your favorite character in the comments, but also your favorite aspect about Qianqiu. I can't wait to see what they are. I'm definitely going to like and comment. Anyway, you all have a beautiful day or a beautiful night. I will see you all next time when we start reading Sha Po Lang by Priest. Well, 爱你们